Live from number 5 Ola Hansen Lane at Tesano in Accra, this is Citi Newsroom on Citi TV. My name is Umaru Sanda Amadou. Coming up. Some NDC members of parliament petitioned the party to suspend reshuffling of its leadership in the House. Meanwhile, new leader of the minority side is calling for unity as he makes frantic efforts to address outstanding grievances within the group.
Allegations are. Then the next step to actually take is to.
Also, one person dead and another in a critical condition after a commercial vehicle lost control and ran into traders selling by the roadside at Swami Roundabout in the Ashanti region.
One had some minor injuries, so the person had already been seen and sent home. There is one currently on admission. You know, we have to take some x-rays to make sure there's nothing seriously wrong. But the third patient, unfortunately, lost her life.
And later, we'll explore the reasons behind the reduction of football supporters at football games across stadia in the country.
The issue of hooliganism, maybe people are still afraid. After the May 9th disaster, attendance is really low.
Your fans are far away from your clubs. This is not the responsibility of the FA, it's your responsibility.
We are grateful that you chose Citi TV. Details of our stories now. And the minority leader in Parliament, Dr. Kezia Forson, says the leadership of the National Democratic Congress, NDC, will engage members of the Minority Caucus on Tuesday, January 31st, 2023, to address outstanding grievances in the group. There has been a division among members of the group following a reshuffle of its leadership by the national executives of the National Democratic Congress, NDC. Speaking to journalists after a meeting with leadership of the NDC, the minority leader, Dr. Kezia Forson, assured of a collaboration with the former leadership of the caucus to deliver on their mandate in Parliament. The following report has more.
On January 24, 2023, named the Ejumako Enyan Esia Member of Parliament, Dr. Kezia Forson, and the Member of Parliament for Lembele, Emmanuel Ama Kofi-Bua, as Minority Leader and Deputy Minority Leader, respectively, to replace Haruna Idrisu and James Kluche Aveji, while Kwame Agboja also replaced Asawasi MP Muntaka Mubarak as the Minority Chief Whip. The shake-up in the minority leadership has caused growing disquiet among NDC members of Parliament as some appear unhappy with the decision. It was gathered that about 60 members of the Minority Caucus signed a petition to appeal to the executives of the NDC to suspend the reshuffle for further engagement, while another 77 members of the caucus also signed a petition endorsing the current leadership. On Thursday, January 26, 2023, the new leadership of the caucus addressed the media with the minority leader Dr. Kezia Forson assuring of his commitment to unite members of the caucus.
I have held fruitful and positive conversation, in fact frank conversation, with my senior brother, the Honorable Haruna Idrisu. I commended him for his admirable leadership and stewardship when he was granted the opportunity by a great to lead. It will be my duty to represent our collective goals in particular, with an unwavering dedication and, most importantly, with high integrity. I have no doubt that with the support of the entire minority caucus in Parliament, we shall succeed. May the God Almighty guide us and bless us all. But let me also add that our first responsibility is to unite the caucus, and that will be number one on the agenda.
He also outlined 3 key areas that the caucus would focus on for the next 1 month in the discharge of its duties in Parliament.
Most importantly, I will focus the next month. To tackle 3 things. First, I wish to first of all send a message to the MPP that the people of Ghana are calling on them to downsize their government, to reflect the mood of the country. You are asking people to forgo their coupons or interest, asking the ordinary Ghanaian to sacrifice his payout. And so therefore, if His Excellency the President intends to reshuffle his government, let it be known that we in the NDC will not accept an attempt to increase the size of government. And if the current size of his ministers increase by 1, that 1 person may not receive our cooperation. And in the end, we also wish to assure the people of Ghana that as part of our engagement with the Finance Committee and the Health Committee, we have agreed to do public hearing on the audit of the COVID-19 expenditure, public hearing, beginning on the 7th of February 2023. At that point, we will pay due diligence to the duties given to us as the people of Ghana. And then finally, we will also embark on a roadshow where we will galvanize the people of Ghana and educate them on the meaning of what this economic crisis is going to take us through. But to conclude on this matter, I will appeal to the rank and file of our great NDC party to keep calm. Members of Parliament are in good hands. We will work with them with due diligence. Obviously, we are not new in this house. I've been in this house for 14 years. I know the capabilities of all our colleagues. Some I met, some came to meet me. I have worked closely with most of our colleagues, and I can assure you that together we shall succeed.
Later, the newly appointed leaders of the Minority Caucus in Parliament paid a courtesy call on the national executives of the NDC at its headquarters at Adabraka in Accra.
We have also recognized that the work that they've given to us will require dedication and obviously a lot more than just sitting there. So we have said that we will deliver on just that. And then obviously we have agreed with the leadership of our party that beginning from today there will be a series of activities that we will be undertaking. The Minority Caucus will have a maiden meeting with our leadership and the party leadership on Tuesday, 31st of January 2023. It is our hope that on that meeting we'll resolve all outstanding concerns. And we also wish to assure our former leaders that this leadership will work with them in good faith. And we know, obviously, that the Honorable Haruna's leadership chalked a lot of successes, and we recognize that all of us are product under his leadership. Honorable Muntaka is a stalwart, and we in this leadership will often defer to them as long as decisions are concerned and to seek their input before final decisions will be made.
We appreciate that the work ahead is going to require a lot of input coming from them. And of course, they understand that as a wing of the party, they need to work very closely with the leadership of the party to ensure that we can deliver the aspirations of our people and especially being able to do what Ghana requires of us, which is to work towards taking out of power the most abysmal, the most incompetent, the most corrupt government in the history of our country. And so we've had a beautiful conversation with them. We've also signaled to them that early next week, on Tuesday, we'll be having a broader conversation with the caucus as a whole. And that conversation is one that would basically confirm the decisions that have been taken in terms of explaining the way forward, for us as a party, and the best way to be able to make sure we deliver the mandate that has been given to us, a mandate that will ensure the well-being of the people of Ghana come election 2024.
Meanwhile, some of the NDC MPs who signed a petition to reject the decision by the National Executive of the party to reshuffle its leadership in Parliament has petitioned the Council of Elders, National Executive Committee, and the leader of the party, John Dramani Mahama, to suspend the action. The disgruntled members believe the decision by the party is unfair and unpopular as no consultations were made.
We are equally concerned that the letters that were issued were not the decision of the party. Our party as NDC has about 4 decision-making groups. First, the Congress, where all delegates meet to take decision. Second is the National Executive Committee, that's NEC. And then third is the Functional Executive Committee. It is when this group take decision, then you get the General Secretary and the principal officers implement. Then we also have the Council of Elders, even though our constitution says that they are advisory, sometimes periodically they also give directions and then the party tries to implement. We are firm, because I serve as on FEC, I serve on NEC, I go to Council of Elders as an observer, and I'm also on the political committee as an observer. Congress, all of us as members of parliament are members of Congress, and the minority leader is also on all these levels. At no such meeting was there any agenda to discuss this. So it is clear that it is a letter, yes, written by the General Secretary, but the decision may be just the decision. Our plea is that when this petition gets to the Council of Elders, we hope that they will help fast-track a reconciliation and a meeting that will help us resolve all this before Parliament resumes, so that we don't have to saddle ourselves with this controversy. When MPP is really messing up completely, there are so many issues that we need to be focusing, which this is not the time for us to be focusing in the internal division among us, and I don't think that's healthy for us at all. 1 or 2 things we did not do. So I just want to urge our colleagues that they shouldn't be in a hurry. If this caucus really wants to have a change and have them as leaders, they can count on our support.
The Member of Parliament for Zabila in the Upper East region says until Parliament is officially notified of the reshuffle, the position of the old leadership remains.
Is this when the Speaker reads the letter to Parliament, the letter he has received from the Secretary of the party that indicating the reshuffle. It is when that letter is read to members of the House that it can take effect. As at now, we have already said we are not there. So as far as we are concerned, the current leaders of the House, Honorable Haruna Idris, Muntaka and co, are deemed to still be in office. Now, the purpose of this press conference, as I've indicated, is to try to maintain cohesion in the party, is to try to ensure that we remain as a body, that we still are an appealing group to the Ghanaian populace, and that they should trust us for December 2024. So our petition is going to the Council of Elders of the NDC. We are petitioning the Council of Elders of the NDC with a copy to the National Executive, with a copy to the Speaker of Parliament, and a copy of the said petition to the former flag bearer, Honorable John Dramani Mahama. His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. The basis for our petition is a prayer to suspend the reshuffle indicated by the National Executive of the party until such time,
The General Secretary.
Signed by the General Secretary of the party. The petition is signed by the General Secretary of the party. The basis of our petition is to appeal to them to suspend the suspension exercise until such time that it's a holistic meeting of stakeholders and consultation before we take a decision. We are saying so against the backdrop that the National Executive Committee of the party a few weeks ago decided that all appointees in the party and in Parliament should remain in office until after we have concluded the parliamentary primaries and the flag bearer primaries on the 13th of May this year. That all office holders and appointees should remain in office until the primaries are over. We are therefore surprised that the primaries are not yet taken place, they are not yet over, and a reshuffle is hitting the caucus of Parliament. We think that that is premature.
So the newly appointed leaders of the minority caucus in Parliament also ended their rounds with a visit to the residence of the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagben, at Oyarifa in the Greater Accra region.
Leading the engagement the whole day, and as part of this engagement, we visited the Speaker's residence. Again, just a courtesy call. I have to say that we were warmly received. We also have benefited from his wise counsel. And so we are very encouraged by it. We've thanked him for that. Thank you very much.
What was his message to you?
Well, you know, our priority right now is to make sure that we unite our caucus. That's our number one priority. And that is so important to us. Of course, you cannot lead when your crowd, your people are not united. And that's our singular focus. And we are confident we will do that.
Reporting for Citi News, my name is Ni Ayukwe Okain.
Some other stories now. The National Peace Council has appealed to political parties to resort to alternative dispute resolution to address its differences other than violence. The council believes that subscribing to conflict resolution will go a long way in preventing violence during elections. The following report has more.
Ghana has successfully organized 8 presidential and parliamentary elections. However, in Ghana's electoral fraternity, electoral-related violence remains protracted, adversely affecting lives and properties. Electoral violence recorded in the country includes the Ayawaso West Wogon elections, the biometric voter registration exercise in 2012 at Dododojojo constituency, among others. Sadly, victims of these acts of violence hardly get justice, despite calls from various organizations and the public to bring perpetrators to book. In view of this, the National Peace Council has reiterated calls for political parties to resolve conflict through resolution mechanisms other than violence. The Council says this, when adopted, will deepen the democratic process and preserve the unity of the country.
We also wish to encourage all political parties to use internal party procedures in addressing intra-party challenges at all times. The Council believes this will go a long way to even enhance Ghana's image in the democratic space. As you are all aware, the 2020 elections recorded some violent incidents and deaths. It is the conviction of the National Peace Council that a meeting like this will create the platform for fraternizing continuous engagements and discuss objectively strategic means of strengthening relationship among the political parties towards sustainable peace of Ghana.
Despite the signing of peace pacts ahead of elections, pockets of violence are still recorded. Johnson Esiedun Ketia is the national chairman of the National Democratic Congress. He bemoaned the lack of prosecution of persons found to have engaged in electoral violence.
We're all interested in seeing some progress in prosecuting the persons who were, arrested in some cases, and in other cases finding the perpetrators arrested and prosecuted. We've done more than 1 year now. We don't seem to have any meaningful progress towards prosecution of the offenders. And as we keep on repeating, if punishments are not issued, then it goes on to encourage other people to find means of retribution in subsequent elections. So we think that the way to peace is to ensure that wrongdoers are punished. And they are not punished in a selective way. Everybody who has done something wrong ought to be identified and punished.
For his part, the national chairman of the New Patriotic Party, Stephen Ayensu Intim, emphasized the need to ensure peaceful coexistence among various political parties ahead of the elections.
Next election, we go through with it peacefully, as usual. MPP, you all know, is committed to peaceful coexistence with other political parties, and that is what we seek to continue doing with the rest of the political parties and the Peace Council.
Now, individual bondholders have called on Togbi Apede, the 14th, to step in and help them to get exempted from government's domestic debt exchange program. The Agbogbo of the Asogli State made the call during an interaction with the individual holders in his office today.
Government's domestic bond exchange program to restructure about 137 billion Ghana cedis of debt continues to face resistance from domestic investors. Individual holders of government's bond amounting to about 8 billion cedis say they want complete exemption from the program. They are asking government to cut capital expenditure in the 2023 budget and find money to pay interest on debt owed them. The group of individual bondholders recently agreed to form a joint committee with the Ministry of Finance as part of the measures taken to get their bonds exempted. On Thursday, the Individual Bondholders Forum presented a petition to the Agbogbo of the Asogli State, Togbi Apede. Presenting the petition, the convener for the group, Senyor Hosi, explained the impact of the current form of the domestic debt exchange on private investors.
You have 89% to deal with. These 89% are structured organizations with clear incentives, support systems for them, like the banks. They are giving them forbearances, they are giving them revisions in their prudential ratios. But for individuals, there's no backup. Your financial stability fund is you begging on the street. You going out begging after all these years of saving and trying to earn dignity for yourself. Your financial stability fund is you dying out of hunger. Is you dying out of your inability to sustain health. Is you suspending the quality education of your children for 15 years as the government is proposing. Another matter that is absolutely unsustainable. We have no backup. So we come to you and pray that you add your voice, that you do not sit aloof while justice is ill-served, while the fate of 6.5 billion people is abused unfairly people who only did one thing, to trust their government.
Togbe Afede, who sympathized with the investment community, called on the government to re-examine expenditure and make cuts where necessary to help gain economic credibility.
Once we define clearly what our debt service obligations are, then the next step to actually take is to look critically at government expenditure and government revenues to see what can be done to enhance our debt service capacity. And as I said in an article I wrote recently, we should begin to look closely at our expenditures. What expenditures can we cut out?
The individual bondholders are desperately trying to get their bonds exempted from the domestic debt exchange program. Now, after agreeing to a joint committee set up by the Finance Ministry to thrash out the issues, they are hoping that a petition like this to the office of a well-respected chief like Togbe Afede will help their cause. For Citi News, Charles Ozukumi reporting.
You're watching Citi Newsroom on Citi TV. Still ahead. One person has been confirmed dead while another is on admission at the Tafo Government Hospital after a commercial vehicle lost control and ran into traders selling by the roadside at the Swami roundabout in the Ashanti region. We have that story and more coming up. Please be with us.
Every child is so unique. You like no other. Outstanding in every way. It's me like no other. So anytime you walk and play, you like no other. You are special like Indomie. It's me like no other.
Did you know that every child on the planet has their own unique fingerprint like no other?
You like no other. I can play the drums. I'm talented. It's me like no other. I can sing. I can dance. You like no other.
As well as their own unique talents and abilities.
I can cook. I can paint. You like no other. Indomie. It's you like no other.
So every day, in whatever you do, remember you are special in your own way, like no other.
Thank you, Mom, for letting me know I'm special and for making me my special Indomie. Thank you, Mommy.
Introducing Indomie beef flavor. Buy now.
This advert is FDA approved.
Within the diner, we know HIV in February 1990. No credit na adding years semajatum. Abraham yen shishemuno. Ne draw ni baby a dominancy. Infianci a drop by our Ghana.
Paul, Cabran, Fiabiachi, na antiretroviral, Rebini Ho, na Anidasu ni home my dache. The near junior one who were dying.
And no of our area in fear dunum de on HIV positive. In fear doing in name antiretroviral, and we are saying Nadia to say, young family HIV Mwana say. She say your IFA. I dare by say antiretroviral, so on the pepper pesa de yachro now. A could say HIV Mwana. Abosumi sia we ahwehwemu a emwa ne brase na ontimi sanfama wo bi foforo na mom kai so benum weduru yi
yes say nuanu mo HIV mo no bi say onum antiretroviral no ne yie yetime to asase enfiem no ne aduasa.
You're welcome back. Now, one person has been confirmed dead while another is on admission at the Tafo Government Hospital after a commercial vehicle lost control and ran into traders selling by the roadside at the Swami roundabout in the Ashanti region. Now, according to eyewitnesses, the driver of the vehicle experienced a brake failure, and in the process, a customer who was hit died on the spot, while the trader who was selling the items also got critically injured. Our Ashanti Regional correspondent Fatih Aminu Ibrahim has more.
Eyewitnesses say the incident occurred at around 4 a.m. on Thursday. Richmond Dankwa, one of the passengers in the commercial vehicle that was involved in the incident, has been narrating what happened to Citi News.
Roundabout, not dominant to be woman to be roundabout. In the catcher meeting in his roundabout to woman. I saw a yarn driver and started pride break. A pride break and a break me fairly until I try to send the full payment in or payment in one a diverty. Not any share, baby, a dreadful phone or no. The at once were there a bonipa mensa. I'm a Bakuko Sheka and I said, you know, I can't school say. And I saw Ken Muni Pija, you man, and was I no, I am near Rossi, I do me and sending a quarter Fuji. Tafuji Nyanity, if you was said, there no Sheka and I send it by in media.
Police sources and authorities at the Tafo Government Hospital have confirmed the incident to Citi News. The hospital is, however, calling on the public to help identify the deceased person. Nifa Samwa is a nurse at the Tafo Government Hospital.
One had some minor injuries, so the person had already been seen and sent home. There is one currently on admission. You know, we have to take some x-rays to make sure there's nothing seriously wrong. But the third patient, unfortunately, lost her life. Unfortunately, again, we have no relatives, so we don't have much information about her. So we are seriously wanting relatives to come and then confirm. We are at Tafo Hospital, Tafo Government Hospital, emergency unit. So if any member or if anyone has lost their relatives or someone has gone out and has not yet returned home, please, we are asking that the person should come, or any person. The police are also involved now. So if the person comes, they can go to Swami Police Station and then back to Tafo Government Hospital.
Citi News checks reveal that the driver of the vehicle has been detained by the Swami District Police Command as the police have commenced investigations into the incident. Meanwhile, some traders who sell by the roadside around Swami Roundabout have admitted the risk involved in selling them. They, however, argue that they have nowhere to ply their trade, hence they are resolved to sell by the roadside. Some of them who spoke to Citi News, however, say they are willing to move to a market if provided by authorities.
Baby mama,
Mpacho betime tu afiri ama better place ya ibeko ma ibeko ye ho beto ye ayepe ye ni ba bi te nti aja aba na beton kakra na woko ti asra aban se ye ni ba bi te ayeton niema to omoa no omo ampanyimfo no omo moa no ma ye ba bi ne yentena ne yenton ye niema ye hwe school fo wata be lade ni na wan so de ama ametena se a.
For now, until authorities put measures in place to address trading activities just by the roadside, the lives of traders and their customers will continue to be at risk. For Citi News, Fatih Aminu Ibrahim, Swami Roundabout.
Now, there's a growing concern about the gradual reduction of football supporters at games in the Power Ghana Premier League across stadia in the country, with the result affecting the revenue stream of clubs and all stakeholders involved. Citi News' Edem Kai takes a look at the situation and has found this report.
Football is the most popular sport in the country by a mile and is often referred to as the passion of the nation. Sadly, the passion for football on the local scene seems to be fading away. There is growing concern about fan attendance to games in Ghana's flagship football league, the Power Ghana Premier League. Citi Sports attended the league game between Accra Lions and between Chelsea at the Accra Sports Stadium, which had less than 1,000 people in attendance. Interactions with some die-hard fans revealed that they felt the league had lost its spark and attractiveness due to a lack of star power and inadequate promotion and marketing.
Much of the excitement of the league has reduced. From my perspective, I think there's not much excitement in the league at this moment.
When we were kids, coming with our parents, come and watch football here, I mean, you could see there were a lot of big names, and you could see the players were playing hard. And when you always come to the stadium, you feel that you didn't waste your money to come and watch good football and quality football as well. But in terms of the current standard of the league, I think the players are not up to standard.
Former Betim United winger Kujua Samoa, who now plays for FK Spartaks in Latvia, was in attendance, and he was of the view that the media has a role to play in the situation.
The media also project the league to the people who has never been to stadium before, because if they keep saying bad things, sometimes what people hear, they try to make effort. Like if I hear that something is happening here, I want to go there. But how did they also project it on there for people to see, or how people hear about it can even push the people to go or not? So I think the media also has a way to make it more interesting for the people who have not seen the stadium before. Because if the criticism is more than how they praise the league, it's going to be impossible for people to come to the stadium.
In an interview with Citi Sports, Herman Hesse, supporters chief of Bed Power Premier League giant Accra House of Folk, felt different issues contributed to the situation we are now witnessing.
Apart from those of us who usually have the opportunity to sit at the VVIP and enjoy the facilities there, if you go down there, the facility there is really horrible. Okay, also the issue of hooliganism, maybe people are still afraid. After the May 9th disaster, attendance is really low. Is it that people are still afraid? Is it that people are still not comfortable? Is it a security situation? Okay, because there are still issues, especially outside Accra and Kumasi, where there are issues of hooliganism at the stadium. So let's look at all these things, and I believe that we should find a solution. But definitely, we must all agree, and you as media people, you are stakeholders, and I am very thankful that you guys have gotten involved, so that we first of all identify what the problems are. The ones I've mentioned, maybe in my opinion, we need to talk to a lot of people. They may also have different opinions, different perspectives.
President of the Ghana Football Association, Ket Okreku, also spoke about the growing problem at the 28th Ordinary Session of Congress held at Pram Pram.
Your fans are far away from your clubs. This is not the responsibility of the FA, it's your responsibility. Gone were those days that one will sit at home and think that if I put 11 players on the pitch, the fans will come and watch. Those days are gone. Because there are other competing entertainment opportunities for every person. If you're not practical, if you're not proactive, if you don't put out strategies that will bring back your fans, believe me, your fans will not come.
The chairman of the Ghana League Clubs Association, Kujo Fianu, in an interview with Citi Sports said stakeholders should have been proactive in dealing with the issue.
I also think that we did not throw the searchlight when the numbers started dwindling. We've waited until it's gotten to, excuse me to say, a hopeless situation before we are now running around to find a solution to it. I believe that if we had pressed the panic button some few years ago, we'll have maybe amend our ways of doing things. As I said, we have so many things competing with football. So if 3 o'clock, that is when you should be at a funeral, you should be at a wedding. Most of the venues, no floodlights, where matches can be shifted into the evening. So all these things are playing into what we are seeing now.
The situation regarding the attendance of local league games will have to improve if Ghanaian football is to grow to become a league capable of competing with the best on the continent. It is currently ranked 28th on the Confederation of African Football Association ranking for the 2023-2024 club season. A joint effort from all stakeholders will be required to lift our league to the level where there will be no question about the quality, experience and spark of the league. For Citi News, Edem Kai.
This is Citi Newsroom on Citi TV. Still ahead. Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia advocates for investment in infrastructure to support implementation of Africa Continental Free Trade Area. We'll be back shortly. Please stay with us.
Every child is so unique. You like no other. Outstanding in every way. It's me like no other. So anytime you walk and play, you like no other. You are special like Indomie. It's me like no other.
Did you know that every child on the planet has their own unique fingerprint like no other?
You like no other. I can play the drums. I'm talented. It's me like no other. I can sing. I can dance. You like no other.
As well as their own unique talents and abilities.
I can cook. I can paint. You like no other. Indomie. You like no other.
So every day, in whatever you do, remember you are special in your own way, like no other.
Thank you, Mom, for letting me know I'm special and for making me my special Indomie. Thank you, Mommy.
Introducing Indomie beef flavor. Buy now.
This effort is FDA approved. Finally, anyone can become a household.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You Go Flip, a real estate gaming platform that allows you to play and stand a chance of winning a house or cash or consolidated prizes, such as savings towards a house. Simple and easy to play. Visit www.yougoflip.com. Buy a ticket to enter the game. Wait for the end of the game to enjoy the win. Anyone can win. Flip it or own it. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Play responsibly, not for persons below 18 years, and gaming can be addictive.
You're welcome back. Now, the government has charged the Ghana Revenue Authority to adopt innovative strategies to collect more revenue this year, despite the GRA exceeding its 2022 revenue target by some 4%. The Deputy Minister of Finance, Dr. John Kumah, encouraged the tax collector to maximize its efforts to narrow the country's revenue to GDP rate, which ranks as the lowest in the sub-region. Fred Duho has more in this report.
The Deputy Minister for Finance, Dr. John Kumah, has entreated the Ghana Revenue Authority to endeavor to collect more revenue this year in order to upscale the country's revenue to GDP ratio shortfalls, which currently hovers around 14% to GDP. Speaking on behalf of the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, the Deputy Minister noted that the current economic situation, coupled with government debt exchange program, it behoves on the Customs Division of the GRA to deploy new strategies to improve the country's revenue mobilization efforts. He made these statements at the International Customs Day celebration in Accra.
The GRA collected a total tax revenue of 75,554.05 million for the year 2022, as against the target of 71,094.76 million, exceeding the target by 3.595.29 million. So this performance represents a nominal growth rate of about 31.5%. The country revenue as a ratio of GDP is just around 14% and one of the lowest in the sub-region. We seek to achieve at least a 20% which is comparable to what the regional average is. So with our current GDP, which the current GDP is estimated to be about 800 billion for 2023. This supposes that we should be targeting, if you are looking at 20% of 8 to 800 billion, we should be targeting 160 billion as our revenue collection annually for Ghana. But the 2023 revenue target for the authority, however, is 105 billion, 998.73 billion. And that's about 54 billion lower than what we are supposed to be targeting.
The Commissioner of Customs Division, Seydou Idi Idisa, in his address noted that the Ghana Revenue Authority has set a revenue target of 105 billion Ghana cedis for this year. He charged officers to devote much efforts towards their duty to ensure the set target is achieved.
The Secretariat is inviting members to look at how they support newly recruited officers, facilitate the sharing of knowledge, and heighten the sense of pride in being part of this institution and of the global customs community. This is about placing human capital, and especially the new generation, at the heart of the transformation of customs, an approach the WCO has been advocating for a number of years. Young customs officers often have particular strengths, but they need to acquire specific and often tactical knowledge and know-how.
Some customs officials who distinguished themselves over the past years were acknowledged at the International Customs Day celebration.
Now, the Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, has highlighted the need for more investments in crucial infrastructure by African governments and businesses to facilitate trade under the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. Now, speaking at the maiden edition of the Africa Prosperity Dialogues dubbed Kwewu Summit 2023, Dr. Bawumia also called on government, that is African governments, to implement concrete actions to ensure that Africa achieves the needed industrialization on the continent.
The maiden edition of the Africa Prosperity Dialogues was organized as a solution-driven initiative to fast-track the implementation of the AfCFTA. The African Continental Free Trade Area was birthed in 2018, but it still faces practical challenges. Speaking at the opening ceremony, Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia called on African governments to invest more in crucial infrastructure to facilitate trade under the AfCFTA.
Like the vision of our forebears, the African Continental Free Trade Area has set the stage for Africa's industrialization drive. But it will take concrete, strategic actions by governments and businesses on the continent, the right mix of policies, a greater sense of purpose for more robust intra-African trade to happen, to support economic diversification and the much-needed industrialization of the continent. To bring about the transformation we need, I propose 3 broad areas that we need to prioritize. First, there is the need for smart investments in critical infrastructure. As a continent, we need to produce and trade our way out of poverty and underdevelopment. And we cannot do that without investing in smart infrastructure across the continent. Whilst the last decades have seen some positive investments, there is the need for additional resources to finance the arteries for trade, which include the physical infrastructure such as roads, rail, and energy.
Secretary General of the AfCFTA Secretariat, Wamkele Mene, expressed confidence in Africa's ability to meet the $450 billion GDP projection by 2035, as this could lead to the creation of more jobs through innovative means.
We have a long way to go. We have a deficit, an infrastructure deficit of over $100 billion, as we have heard. We have a deficit in industrial output and capacity. We contribute only 2.1% to global trade and output. We contribute only 3.1% to global GDP. However, we know that our continent has attributes that will enable us to create opportunities, to accelerate growth, to ensure that young Africans have jobs here in Africa. As we've heard this morning, by the turn of the century, the largest number of working adults in the world will be in Africa, with the attendant rise in purchasing power, which will enable Africa to be one of the leading economies in the world 30 to 40 years from now. A very positive projection which you may be aware of, which I want to leave you with, and that is a projection by the World Bank, and that where we implement the AfCFTA effectively, by the year 2035, we have an opportunity to contribute to Africa's GDP $450 billion.
Executive Director of the Africa Prosperity Network, Dr. Eugene Usu, also noted that the AfCFTA is a game changer, and once fully realized, this will mean an opportunity for the growth of the country's small businesses.
In the world of increasing economic nationalism, deeper intra-Africa trade is going to be our life support and indeed the basis of our collective prosperity. We do have on this continent, we do have everything that we need to transform Africa into a global powerhouse of the future. But in my view, the game changer is going to be the speed and scope of the implementation of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area.
The dialogues are organized by the Africa Prosperity Network and partners, which include the African Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat and the Presidency of the Republic of Ghana.
For Citi News, I am Nete Ajaho.
Well, that will be it for Citi Newsroom on Citi TV for today. Our website, citinewsroom.com, has more stories. Subscribe to CityTube on YouTube for more exclusive video content from Citi TV. You can watch Citi TV on DSTV channel 363. On GoTV, we're on channel 182. And my name is Umaru Sandamadu. We are grateful that you joined us. Thank you.